Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. Cirrus over there. Cirrus.
Hi, how's it going?
Call me a degen daddy.
No.
Why not?
Get your own.
I don't know. Someone on Cirrus's Twitch gifted me a sub. I think something like that.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of the membership status on YouTube.
Yeah, so I got access to Cirrus's emotes and everything. I was just playing around with it. I'm like, what is an... I know what an uwu is, but what is an owo? So I made him say oo. So yeah, YouTube is currently giving me an error saying that it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming.
What?
I don't know why it would be doing that. I'm checking my... like... on my end, my internet connection is solid. I mean, I'm only sending and receiving about 10 megabits per second either way, so that's not a lot, but like 10 is kind of normal for streaming, so I don't know what's going on there. So if the stream is not smooth, it's YouTube's fault, not mine.
Let me go ahead and check the stream real quick and see if it looks fine.
The little preview looks fine to me. But, like, I got the big yellow error bar telling me that they don't have enough video.
Oh, I see what's going on. So you've got feed that's coming through just fine, but it's, like, at 140p, and I don't think there's any real way to fix that.
Huh. Okay, well, my apologies for that.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw the link to the YouTube channel for everybody who is on my end so that y'all can go over there and see how the feed looks on your end.
Just sending everybody over to me so they can go like, oh yeah, that does look like shit. I guess I'm going back to Twitch now.
God damn it. Or so they can subscribe to the channel because, you know, that's a good thing they can do to the watering hole.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, OBS says it's good. OBS is saying it's sending 10 megabits per second, and it's got a big green light next to it, which is... green is good, right?
Yeah, it should be. Unless it's opposite day.
I don't know. I have been seeing some weird behavior online today, so I feel like it might not entirely be not my fault. Oh, when did I get rid of the IKEA soundproofing? This is my first stream with the new paint job on the room. So yeah, it's always been dark and dingy in here. So we painted the wood paneling behind me teal. I mean, I think the white balance is a little off on my camera, so it looks kind of like baby blue, but it is teal.
Better say it just looks agreeable gray to me.
Okay, well, there we go. But yeah, and I actually have some plans for behind me. I'm going to, Actually, maybe you can help me out with this, Cyrus. But
What's up?
so you know the emotes that I got done for my channel that you can use if you're a member, by the way. So the artist that did them, I contacted her, and she cannot do this. So maybe you can put me in touch with someone who might have more experience with this. But what I'm looking to do is get the emotes done in like a graffiti art style to make it look like somebody graffitied the wall behind me, and like print that off on one of those not soundproofing, acoustic treatment pad things,
Yeah.
whatever they're called, because they're services you can get that'll print artwork on those things, and then I can have that behind me, and that would look cool.
So I'll throw this. I think I know somebody who might be able to. You know what? Just as a random guess, Stoff, if you're still in, how close can you emulate the style of Jet Set Radio for the graffiti tags that are in that game? It said, yeah, give Stoff muns.
What? What does that mean?
Axo just said, yeah, give Stoff muns like money.
Give Stoffmans. Okay, yeah. No, I'm. Yeah, no, this would be a paid gig for sure, 100%. Another idea we had was I don't think the field of vision from the camera is good enough for this, but like maybe I was also thinking of like replace my purple background with like just have another camera pointed at it and make that the background, and then I could have like the graffiti art done on like either side of me, and then in the middle, like right behind me, I could have like fan art that gets printed on canvases, and I can like rotate that through streams. And I really like that idea. I'm not sure if that's going to work out with regards to the thing, and I'm also not sure if I'd have to like get permission from the people who did the art to print it and use it in that way, because there's some fan art that I really like that I don't know how to contact the people anymore because it was like sent to me on Twitter, and they're not on Twitter anymore.
Well, yeah, Stoff just noted that they're not really good at the graffiti style. I'll keep an ear to the ground and see if I can find somebody who can do it, and I will forward them to you when I do. I guarantee you there's somebody in my group that can. It'd be a very weird style for like to just be no coverage for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the idea, but
yeah.
Let's see what is going on.
I think it's a neat idea.
I'm sorry, this big yellow banner on YouTube is driving me fucking bonkers.
Big yellow banner on YouTube?
Yeah, telling me that I'm not streaming properly.
Oh.
It's going to distract me all night until it goes away, and I don't know why it would not go away. Okay. Anyway, let's get to the news, shall we?
No.
Okay, let's not and say we did.
Okay, there we go. Done. All the topics finished.
Thanks for joining me tonight.
That was quick.
Fuck off. Yeah, all the members can spam the Tech Rhino in the chat. Go for it. That was actually okay. So if you were watching just before the countdown on the standby page and you saw the like OBS thing pop up, I was trying to add that thing that Cyrus has, where if you send like one of the special emotes or whatever, it like pops up on the actual stream, because that's kind of neat. And it's a fairly simple thing to set up, and so I was like trying to do it in the last 2 minutes before the stream started, and yeah, it didn't work immediately, so I was like, fuck it, start the countdown.
You said you weren't going to do that.
Yeah, I did, but then we had like 2 minutes and you were muted so you could eat your Dorito, and I was like, what do I do for 2 minutes? I know. I'll do something that'll make me look like I don't know what I'm doing.
You know what? I can't say I haven't done similar with like my stream opening animations, where I've just been like, let me see if I can compile this in 2 minutes. Let me just ignore the fact that it's going to have to export.
So Naramdaput Saul wants to know which religion has the best hats.
The Amish.
The Amish. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I want to say ancient Egyptian.
You want to say ancient Egyptians?
Yeah. It's like those hats that were like the brass thing around your head that had the sun behind you or whatever.
Are those cartouches, I want to say?
I don't think that's a cartouche.
Hold on. Now I've got to know.
Now we're both...
No, cartouche is just a tablet.
Yeah. And how many people in the chat only know the word cartouche because they saw the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie?
I only know the word because it's an aura equipped from Magic the Gathering.
Really? Oh, yeah, I guess that would be like a magic tablet, like a talisman sort of thing. That makes sense.
It's a talisman. It's because there's a set of magic that's on a plane called Amonkhet, and it's literally just
Stargate. It might have been Stargate that I was thinking of when I said the Mummy. Did she say cartouche in the Mummy? Now I need to watch the Mummy again. That's okay because this is a good movie.
A lot of people are saying Stargate in my chat as well.
Yeah, no, I fuck, I can't believe I fucked that up. Yep. I love both those movies. But it has been a long time since I've seen either.
Now, I only know of that word because my friend Brennan keeps on going, hey, you know that equip deck you have? It really should use the cartouches. And I keep going, I don't want to put the cartouches in my deck. I loved Amonkhet, but I don't want to put Amonkhet cards in. It's fine.
Okay, so before we get to the news, I will warn you, I have rejiggered some stuff a little bit, and your boobs might be in the chat again.
Oh, God.
I'm not sure. You are partially in the chat. I'm not sure if your boobs will be there or not. So let's see.
I guess we'll find out.
I mean, if you made your avatar bigger. Anyway, I don't really want to talk so much about this story per se, because as far as I can tell, it's not even real. I mean, it's the fucking New York Post, so like whatever. There's like hundreds of people who identify as dogs gather in city center and call animal control or whatever. So this is New York Post being stupid. They posted this video of people dressed up. There's no one in particularly risque clothing. It's just like a bunch of people dressed up, like they're dressed normally, but they have like the BDSM dog mask on. And so this whole article is written under the premise that these people are people who identify as dogs. They're not just people who like have a kink for dogs or people who like to dress up as dogs sometimes and decide to get together here. It's that these people identify as dogs. Like the thing that...
How much you want to bet it's just a munch?
Just a munch?
A munch is a BDSM meetup where people will talk about like different ways that you can do BDSM stuff safely, basically.
Okay, it might be. This is in Germany, so like Germany is a very sexually liberal culture, so it would not surprise me if that's what it was. Oh my god, I need to redo my my alerts. That is unreadable. Someone subscribed. Alex Markle. So yeah, there were about 1,000 people there. This was in Berlin, so like 1,000 people is a good size gathering, but like Berlin's a big city. But this just like it's just a video of these people dressed up as dogs howling at each other for a bit, and there's no context with the video. As far as I can tell, New York Post is the first outlet to break the story coming from Berlin. Like the one news source that talked about the story that was actually based in Germany cited the New York Post as their source for it. So
when even the local news is just like, we have to outsource this one because we don't know.
I mean, this is a fairly new story. Like as I was as I was looking it up, I was using Ground News for this one to see like all the different sites that were covering it, and like as I was looking it up, more sites kept popping up as sites that had covered it. So it's a developing story, I guess. But you see, the thing is, what kind of made me laugh about that, like I'm just kind of tracking the news cycle. So New York Post broke the story. There's no interviews with any of the people, nothing about this particular group, no explanation as to how it was organized, no explanation as to what group might have organized it, nothing like that. Just, hey, here's a video of some people dressed as dogs howling at each other. Here's some comments from people on like Twitter or something that were making fun of them. And then here's like, as far as I can tell, unrelated stuff about like that guy in Japan that spent $14,000 on a hyper-realistic dog suit. So like,
neat.
So
it's just like,
there's one person that actually identifies as a dog, or not even that he identifies as a dog, but that he enjoys living in the dog suit. And they just try to project that onto this group. Now, what I found interesting about this is that New York Post was the first place to break this. The second place to report on it that I saw is not even a news outlet. It's a Twitter account called Policy Scoop It's a new account that just joined in August. It's not, as far as I can tell, it's not affiliated with any organizations. They don't have a website. They, like, if you Google them, a podcast that they are not comes up.
Okay.
Their page is just kind of filled with anti-LGBTQ news stuff. But they actually say, like, oh, it was organized by a group called Canine Beings. I searched for Canine Beings. Nothing. Couldn't find a damn thing about it.
I wonder if Breitbart has anything on it that's more accurate. Probably not. It's Breitbart.
I was gonna say, why would you, like, what went through your head that you decided to say the words, I wonder if Breitbart has more accurate reporting on this story?
Because Breitbart had a story on this as of 10 hours ago.
Yeah, no, that's but that's the
only
thing.
Reason why.
But that's the thing. So Policy Scoop were the second people to report on it. But I see people talking about the blue check, like paying for that blue check was a terrible idea for shitter. Yeah, I'm still of the mindset, like, I have an extension on Chrome that will just, like, hide all of the blue check tweets. So, like, when I go into the replies or something, the first, like, page and a half of replies are all hidden, and I have to scroll down to get to the real replies. But, like, my brain is still programmed that, like, oh, it's got the check mark beside the name, so this is an official organization sort of thing.
Do you do the thing that I do where you click on it? You click on it and you look at the follower count to verify, and it's always, like, sub 1,000.
Yeah, I think these guys were like 700. So, like, it wasn't nothing for an account that's only been open for a month, but it's not a lot. But anyway, a lot of the news organizations that were reporting on this since this tweet went up also repeated the bit about it being organized by a group called Canine Beings, which a cursory Google search suggests does not exist. So this is how the right wing does news. Somebody just sees a video, they make some loose associations, someone else lies about it, and then the other places repeat the lie.
So that was the reason I wanted to look at the Breitbart version of the article. I skimmed through it real quick, and I noticed that every single point you mentioned, including the anecdotal points about, like, there was a Japanese person who spent this much money on a suit, every single one of those was repeated in the Breitbart article. It's like they literally just copy pasted and said, like, hey, don't make it look like this is my homework.
Yeah, well, let's I got the Breitbart one up. That's even an identical headline. 1,000 people who identify as dogs gather in Germany call animal control. Hundreds of people who identify as dogs gather in city center call animal control.
So they've hyperbolized it.
Well,
or 1,000 versus
so the New York
hundreds.
Post says hundreds, but then the number they give is 1,000. So an estimated 1,000 people. So Breitbart just went with the estimated number. Viral video, commenters didn't mince words. Yeah, just people saying blah, 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 same thing. Oh, and then it's a New York Post video that they linked to.
Yep. It's just regurgitation.
This video comes as concerns continue to rise and as society accepts abnormal behaviors of mental illness as normal, whether that be males contending that they are actually females or individuals identifying as trans species. So here's the thing. There really is a community of people that will say that they identify as a different species and that is a valid thing. But if you ask them that, they will tell you that it's not even close to being LGBTQ. They just, like, people just hear the words identify as and lump them in with trans people.
Yep.
But that's not, like, it's not the same thing, and they don't think it's the same thing, and they don't want to be associated as part of the same group unless they are actually LGBTQ as well. And LGBTQ people are like, no, that's not LGBTQ. So
Monorail in your chat was saying, what's the difference between identifying as a dog and a furry? Furries generally don't identify as their fursuit. It's a costume that they are just wearing.
It's cosplay.
I don't identify.
It's a specific type of cosplay.
Yeah, I don't identify as Sans the Skeleton when I put on my Sans mask for Dragon Con.
Like the people that are part of the 501st Legion that dress up as Star Wars characters, they don't think that they are literally Star Wars characters. They don't identify as Star Wars characters. They just like dressing up as them because they think it's fun.
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's the same thing. Train Freak says right wingers are off the rails. Yeah.
I get it. Train freak.
Adam Broughton
Off the
says,
rails.
Adam Broughton says, when it comes to hard right media, don't forget about the Toronto Sun or Rebel News. P.S. Did you hear about the 1 million person march? I did hear about the 1 million person march. That was one of the things that was all over, what was it? Policy Scoops page. So the 1 million person march was basically an anti-trans march that happened simultaneously in several cities in Canada. In some places, it did get to substantial size. In other places, they were massively outnumbered by pro-trans counter-protests. So, Anyway,
I actually hadn't heard about the 1 million person march at all.
Well, that's because it's Canadian. We don't make international news. Unless it's our prime minister accusing officials in other countries of murdering like ambassadors or whatever it was. I forget. I should have read up on that one more. Did you not hear about that one?
No, I didn't. I guess I'm just not plugged into Canadian happenings.
Why would you not be plugged into Canadian happenings?
I don't know. I'm not Canadian. And yeah, it doesn't. Things that happen in your country don't tend to spill over into mine.
So Trudeau accuses India's government of involvement in killing of Canadian Sikh leader. So Hardeep Singh Najjar was killed in BC in June, and Prime Minister Trudeau accused the government of India of being involved in the shooting.
Okay.
Which, yeah, that's a pretty massive accusation from the leader of the government.
I wonder if there's... I don't know if they'd be... Like, if it turns out that he's incorrect, is there a governmental equivalent of defamation that happens there? I don't think so, especially not across borders.
It's called worse relations.
So it's just
there are diplomatic consequences, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next news item. Trump wrote to-do list for assistant on White House documents marked classified, according to sources. You can just ignore that video. It's been playing on a reel. Yeah, so one of former President Donald Trump's longtime assistants told federal investigators that Trump repeatedly wrote to-do lists for her on documents from the White House that were marked as classified.
What?
Okay, so I was talking to Casey about this because she has security clearance and she deals with classified documents, and she was not really bothered about the idea that he's writing to-do lists on classified documents, because apparently, like, writing on classified documents is not really that big a deal. It depends on what the document is, what it's being used for, sort of thing. The problem comes with who he's handing it to. So in this case, she was on the White House staff since 2018. So while she was working for him in the White House, this wouldn't necessarily have been a problem. But it wasn't the papers that she got handed while working at the White House that are under question here, or it's the ones that were in her desk drawer in Mar-a-Lago, because she continued working for him as a private citizen in Mar-a-Lago after he was done being president, at which point she would no longer have the same
She no longer had clearance at that point.
Yeah,
but she still had the documents.
There might be special cases like this. I'm just going by what Casey has told me, is that she probably did not have clearance once he was done being president because she had no reason to continue to have clearance. But like maybe there's a special case for personal assistance to former presidents. I don't know.
I feel like,
but even so, the fact that it was just like in her office drawer is like, because one of the cases involving classified documents that keeps getting brought up in comparison to the Trump documents thing is one where a guy went on vacation, accidentally took some classified documents with him, and he left them in his like friend's desk accidentally when he came back, and his friend found them, and his friend was like, "Hey, I need to like report this because like I'm not supposed to have these," and so he got in trouble. He got charged under some of the same statutes that Trump is getting charged under, and he was found guilty. And the only thing he did was accidentally take a document with him that he wasn't supposed to have taken with him, and then forget it there, and it was found in someone's desk. That was enough to charge him.
That's the bar for charges.
That was the bar for charges, and he was found guilty and served time in prison for that.
And people get pissed off that Trump is getting similar charges when there's likely intent involved where he's concerned.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, national security things are supposed to be taken seriously. So now this story is very dubious at the moment because, like, it is, like, this is information that has not been officially made public yet. This is like an anonymous source has come forward and said that they were present during the interrogation of Molly Michael. And so they're reporting what Molly Michael said. So it's kind of like, it's probably true because, like, this is ABC News. They're a reputable organization that, you know, they don't just run. Like, if this was in the New York Post, I would doubt it. If this was on MSNBC, I would doubt it. Just in case, like, for anyone that says, like, oh, you just don't like the New York Post because they're right wing. No, I don't like the New York Post because they lie. MSNBC is like liberal Fox News. They exaggerate and lie all the damn time, and I don't like it. But ABC News is fairly middle of the road, and they're pretty good about vetting their stories.
This is one of the reasons that media bias fact check is such a wonderful resource that people should use more often when they need to.
Ground.news/Vice Rhino, or no, ground.news/ yeah, I think it is /Vice Rhino. I don't know. My video on Friday has the link. It's another sponsor spot. Accidentally.
There you go.
Accidentally, my last Ground News video was responding to J. Warner Wallace. My next Ground News video is responding to J. Warner Wallace on the What Would You Say channel. I didn't even realize that until I was like, one of the things I'll do is, like, when they have the call to action thing in the description that you're supposed to have, and, like, sometimes it can be sometimes it's hard to find the documents that they've sent to me in, like, the massive communications that I've gotten. So rather than like try and find the creator brief that they sent to me that I haven't opened in a month, I will, like, just go copy the link from my previous video that I had with them. And it was like, oh, it's the J. Warner Wallace video. Whoopsie doodles.
Yeah, again. Guys, this is an unwritten part of your agreement. You can only plug them when you talk about J. Warner Wallace.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. Like, Ground News is actually, like, they are probably my favorite sponsor because it's the product that I find the most useful. And on top of that, I kind of have I have a soft spot for them because they were my first ever sponsor, and their company started like an hour away from my house in Kitchener, Ontario. Like, I've been to, I used to go to Kitchener like once a month. So it's like, they're right around the corner from me. So, like, I don't know. I kind of like them.
You should actually, like, go there and say hi.
Maybe I will. Maybe I can get them to do, like, an actual, like, if they pay me more money, I could, like, go and, like, interview people that work there or whatever. I don't know. That might be fun.
I mean, look, I've been saying that I'll do the same thing with High Res Studios. They're not a sponsor of mine, but I play some of their games because they're like 35 minutes south of me. I keep thinking, like, oh yeah, I'll just go there and talk to them. I never do, but it's a thing that I need to actually do.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, back to the story. So Molly Michael is the she was one of Trump's assistants. She told investigators that more than once she received requests or taskings from Trump that were written on the back of note cards that she later recognized were sensitive White House materials with visible classification markings. They were the kind of things that, like, they'd be used to brief Trump while he was still in office about phone calls with foreign leaders or other international related matters. So, like, not the kind of stuff his secretary at Mar-a-Lago should be seeing.
So they just throw that stuff around like it's confetti, apparently, instead of actually use. Doesn't the White House have a budget for, like, designated note cards? Well,
so here's the thing: is that the to-do list thing happened after he was done being president. Like, she did work for him in the White House, but this is Mar-a-Lago post-presidency stuff.
So it's documents that Trump had kept after his presidency that were at Mar-a-Lago that he then was writing on and handing to her.
Okay. I haven't been following the chat very much, but Tomoko Lovecraft says my bad Pelagia. Well, he said Pelagia first, but he spelled it wrong, so corrected to my bad Pelagia. I don't know what you're talking about, but Pelagia is great. Go check him out. Probably because he got sponsored by Ground News as well, and he did like a whole video that was just Ground News everything. And like we were chatting privately, and I got kind of annoyed at my last sponsor spot with them because one of the things they say in the creative brief is they emphasize this a lot, is that you have to find a current news item and talk about that in the ad and like go over the numbers or whatever. So I did that. And then their feedback on the ad was like, the ad was great. Just take out the part where you went through the ad, like the actual like recent ad thing. Just take that part out. The rest was fine. So it was like the part that I worked the hardest on was the part that they wanted cut from the ad. And like, I normally have like, Tim Robertson normally writes my ads, but that one he was like, you know, I don't have access to Ground News. And like, I could share my login with him or whatever. But he was like, I don't know what you want to talk about. So it's like, yeah, we both agreed that like this one would be easier if I just wrote it. So it was like, normally I just like, I get the ad copy from him. I might change a couple things here and there to make it sound like it's more my voice. But usually I don't have to think too much about my ads. I just read what he sends me and we're good. But like, this is an ad that I actually like worked really hard on. And they're like, oh, change this. It's like, God fucking
like,
damn it. And then, I vented about it in our chat, and Paul was like, well, I don't mean to brag, but they said mine was good. First try. It's like, okay, yeah, but you did a whole fucking video just sucking their dick, okay, man? Like, of course they said that was good.
God damn it.
Now, the ad that I have coming out on Friday, they didn't greenlight it on the first try, but they actually, their corrections were, they were not in the realm of annoying. They actually like custom made animations to go with what I was saying. And they just like emailed me like, yeah, the ad's great. Just put in these custom animations that we quickly whipped up for you at these timestamps. And I was like, sweet, you're making me look good. All right, I can do that. I don't know how to fucking animate it. Like I know what keyframes are. I know how to use them, but I like don't have any artistic sense. So I can't do shit with them because I'm just bad at it. So like the fact that they just made it for me, and it's like, it's easy stuff. Like if you're good at it, it's easy stuff, but it's just not the kind of thing that I'm good at. So it's like, yeah, it didn't take that many time and it makes me look good. So yeah, sure. I'll throw those in. No problem. Also, it helps that I had to redo that video anyway, because I forgot to match the loudness of like me and the other. So like I was really quiet and then the video I'm responding to was really loud. So it's like, whether they approve it or not, I got to redo the video. So I may as well.
You're already spending that export time anyhow.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than with my main sponsor. DDLG Playground just goes like, yeah, we took everybody else off except you. Oh, thanks. Behind the scenes with Vice Rhino and Cirrus.
Yeah. I like talking behind the scenes stuff. It's like, and what's great is I can talk shit about the people that pay me to advertise for them here, because they'll never see this. Never. I don't even think they checked to make sure I reminded people of the call to action at the end of the video, because I can almost guarantee that they are not going to love that transition if they see it. Because it
doesn't help that if they're sponsoring enough YouTubers, they probably don't even have the manpower to go over every one of those.
Well, yeah, but like the whole video, like I completely accidentally like. So you know how authors will sometimes say that they were writing a character and the character got away from them and took on a life of their own and just kind of did their own things, and the author didn't have control over it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really understood that until I scripted this video, because as I was scripting this video, I just like, it just kept on going down the God and Jesus have a BDSM kink route. And it just kept getting deeper and deeper into that. And we get to consensual non-consent, and we get to all sorts of just, and it was getting really bad. And so like at the end of the video, like the final thing is like I transitioned like very abruptly from like, Jesus really wanted you to whip him like he's a naughty, naughty boy. And don't forget to go to ground.news/ViceRhino.
Jesus Christ, dude.
So it's like that's not the exact transition, but it's something along those lines. And it's just like, oh, if they see that, they're not going to love it.
Or maybe they will love it and they'll get ashamed about that.
Maybe. Hey, Jesus had a humiliation kink. That's okay. I talk about that in the video. This is a spoiler for Friday's video.
I mean, the dude's entire shtick was being hung like this and being nailed by a bunch of Romans publicly.
Well, that's how it started. Because I just said, like I was talking about how, like, he's an omnipotent being. Like, how much suffering you can endure is, like, inversely proportional to how... Or no, it's directly proportional to how much power you have. So, like, if you have unlimited power, then you have the ability to endure unlimited torture. So, like, to be whipped for a couple hours, that's, like, nothing. That's literally nothing. And it just kind of, like, went from that. And at one point I was like, oh, so yeah, you know, Jesus, he came down. It is literally nothing that he was just, like, whipped, hanged, and nailed for your sin. Like, actually, that sounds like a BDSM party. And then from there, it just snowballed.
If you think
not that
about
kind of
it,
snowballing.
If you think about it, if you really think about it, if God is supposed to be omnipresent, then he's currently tickling your prostate right now without your consent.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. He's unironically there.
But I mean, by the same token, every time you take a dump, you're shitting directly into his mouth.
100%. He's omnipresent.
He's omnipresent. You can't not shit in his mouth.
No, you have no option other than shitting, not just in his mouth, but on every part of his body. It's all there all the time.
He's just rubbing it on his nipples.
All right, guys. Now, the next
say goodbye to the monetization on this video.
So you're always giving him a golden shower?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, because your bladder is constantly filling with just, like, a little bit of pee. So, like, that is, as it goes into the bladder, it's going through God's face. He's swimming in it.
He's just swimming in it.
Anyway, Michael was not present for the search at Mar-a-Lago when the FBI confiscated all the documents. But when she got there the next day, she found, like, they'd gone through drawers or whatever, and there were a bunch that were, like, upturned or whatever, and underneath the drawer she found a bunch of these note cards, and she was like, hey, the FBI should probably have these. And she contacted the FBI and was like, here you go, have these things. So she's flipping. But apparently when Trump heard that the FBI wanted to interview her, he told her, you don't know anything about the boxes. And then ABC, bless their little hearts, they said, it's unclear exactly what he meant by that. I mean, I think that is clearly them just trying to avoid a defamation suit. That's just ABC trying to avoid a defamation suit. Like, it's unclear exactly what he meant by that. Draw your own conclusions. We all know what he meant by that.
People in my chat are just going, please do not make me add what is snowballing to my search history. What is it?
Oh, they don't know what snowball... Your chat doesn't know what snowballing is?
Somehow!
How is it your chat that doesn't know what snowballing is? Oh my god. Your chat has educated me on so many things. And they don't know what snowballing is?
All right, chat.
It's when you come in someone's mouth, and then you spit it into the next person's mouth, and so the cum gets a little bit of spit in it, and then they spit it into someone else's mouth, and every time it gets a little bit more liquid involved, so it snowballs. And becomes bigger. Anyway, John73 John says, speaking of golden showers, Mar-a-Lago.
Jesus Christ.
No, don't explain. Stop.
Next, you guys are going to be asking me what the word bukkake means.
Here, let me demonstrate. That's, you know what, sirs? That's where a stream is going. We need to, like, set up an OnlyFans stream so that we can, because eventually eventually this is just going to be the show.
All right, guys, let's talk about these really niche terms. I am actually sponsored by a fucking sex toy shop. This works.
Rhino, you've done the impossible. You've traumatized Cyrus's chat. Which sex toy shop sponsors you? Do you have Adam and Eve?
DDLG Playground.
DDLG Playground.
I'm the only YouTuber still sponsored by them.
Oh.
They nixed their stuff with everybody else because they weren't generating enough sales, but apparently my chat uses them enough that they kept me.
Tell him to give me a try, because I'm pretty sure I could hawk some sex toys on my channel, on my main channel. Absolutely, I could hawk some sex. I could hawk some sex toys.
Oh my god! I'll send them a message and see, because their words to me were that they had closed off their creator program, but they had kept people that were grandfathered in on the old program, and I was the last one that they hadn't like let go. So chaining isn't traumatizing, to be honest.
Okay, I would like to take this moment to offer an official apology to Molly Michael for having her name so close to this discussion. She's the Trump assistant.
Yeah.
Like, in case you missed that from the beginning.
I didn't miss that.
She has nothing to do with our snowballing discussion or our BDSM discussion or any of the other shit that we've discussed. Oh, poor Molly.
Guys, on the next episode of Rhino and Cirrus Traumatized Their Chats, nothing.
No, not doing that. Anyway, yeah, basically the story is that she turned the whole story basically rehashes the whole document thing that we all know this inside and out by now. But she was like, Trump is not cooperating with NARA. There's a lot of so many people here at Mar-a-Lago know about all these boxes. There's no way he can get away with saying that there were only 15. So she is probably testifying to the fact that he knew that he was not supposed to have those documents. Okay. Anyway, so that's
and then the documents in question on the next picture.
Actually, so one of the stories I wanted to cover was the F-35 thing. So if you're not familiar, pilot ejected from his plane, and but it wasn't actually going down, and it was on autopilot. So after he ejected, it just kept flying around, and I thought it was a hilarious story. But enough time has passed that they've kind of figured out what's happened, and all the mysteries are being solved and stuff like that. So it's not funny anymore. It's just a story of some guy pushed the wrong button. Whereas I would have rather laughed about not knowing where this plane is. This plane is just flying around somewhere, taking pictures of people or something, and nobody knows. And that's a funny story. But no, it crashed, and we know where it is now. And the pilot. It was pilot error. He engaged the autopilot and accidentally ejected and whatever. I forget where I was going with. Oh yeah. So I forget who it was, but someone posted a picture of the F-35 photoshopped into the bathroom with all of Trump's classified documents.
Oh, we found the F-35.
We found the F-35. It was at Mar-a-Lago this whole time. I thought that was funny.
I mean, if everything else keeps on showing up there, why not?
Why not? All right, third article. This is going to be a short one. This is some good news. Pennsylvania wants to make it easier to register to vote when drivers get or renew a license.
That's a good thing.
It's a great thing. So Governor Josh Shapiro, who's been doing a bang-up job, I understand, in Pennsylvania. He's making it easier for someone to register to vote when they're getting or renewing a driver's license. So typically what happens when you renew your driver's license is you get a thing that pops up. Would you like to register to vote? And a lot of people just say no. But now instead of asking you that, it's just going to pop up with the form to fill out to register to vote. And you can opt out, but it's easier just to fill out the form and carry on with your day.
And just continue with the day, yeah. Makes sense.
So it increases voter registration. At the bottom of the article, they say, so researchers from Public Policy Institute of California, the University of Southern California, and the University of California, Berkeley, concluded in a 2021 study that automatic voter registration like this increased registration by several percentage points in states where it was in effect and boosted the number of people actually voting by more than 1%. So not huge numbers, but it's a good thing. So yeah, that's basically it. It's automatic voter registration, and honestly, I don't think it should be tied to driver's licenses. I think this should be tied to something that's more universal than driver's license. Everybody should be automatically registered to vote.
Once your birth certificate has an 18-year difference with the current
Well,
year,
okay,
you can vote, period.
Sure, that would definitely increase it by a lot, but like not even birth certificate, because like there are people that are eligible to vote that are like immigrants.
Mm.
They don't have an American birth certificate. Their American birth certificate, or their birth certificate, is not necessarily in the system or whatever. But like there should be something where it just automatically registers everybody to vote, because like that's the idea with a democracy, is that the people get to choose these things. Now the thing is, this same story was covered on a lot of right-wing news items or articles, and the right-wing ones were all being like, "This will make it so that illegal immigrants get registered to vote because they get driver's licenses. So this is going to increase voter fraud." Like, no, you couldn't be any more transparent, because the thing is, when there's high voter turnout, the right loses every single time. Every single fucking time there's high turnout, the right loses.
This is why gerrymandering is a thing in the first
exactly.
place. It's trying to change those numbers in their
What's his name? Jim Jordan. Have you seen his district?
No, I haven't.
It's not even contiguous. Like, it's this big long snake of a thing, and there's gaps in the middle. It's not even great. And
it's one of the biggest. He's in
Wisconsin.
Moments.
He's in Wisconsin, right? Jim Jordan.
Let me double check.
Oh.
We don't really do that. Jim Jordan, Oklahoma, or Ohio. He's the 4th district congressman in Ohio. I saw the O in my brain immediately when Oklahoma.
Okay, so yeah, his isn't the one that's not contiguous, but his is fairly severely gerrymandered. Like here, let's back up. If we do. No. Alt. Where are you not? I don't know why it's not going over there. Anyway, yeah. If you look at these, if you look at these districts, he's like, it's this weird shape, like it's long, snaking, twisting and turning all over the place,
as opposed to just being a box with a couple cities like it should be.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Jim Jordan's isn't the one that I was thinking of that is not contiguous, but that's the thing that's happening in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is gerrymandered to fuck, and a lot of them look like Jim Jordan's district, but it's not even one continuous thing. Like there's gaps in it, and there's actually provisions in the Wisconsin Constitution that explicitly states that districts have to be contiguous.
I got curious and just looked up what District 14 looks like, since that's Marjorie's district.
John73 John says that one looks like a seahorse. Indeed it does.
No, don't say that. The seahorse is a bad word for Republicans. They think it's more trans people.
Because the male gives birth?
Seahorse dads. Yep.
Have you ever seen the videos of that?
I have not, actually.
They look like they're sneezing. They just sneeze and babies come out. Like thousands of babies.
Jesus Christ.
It's disturbing.
Oh boy, it's just, I hate life. Like, I'm sorry to hit you with these awkward realities, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I kind of forget where we were going with that, but yeah, like when more people vote, liberal policies win, especially abortion. Abortion is the majority of people are in favor of abortion, even in the most red portions of the most red states.
Well, it's like a 65% approval rate across the board where abortion's concerned.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be in a very small minority of America for people to not be okay with that. The only people who tend to not be okay with it are people who are hyper plugged in to right-wing politics, whether it be Fox News, One American News Network, etc. At least that's what I've seen here in Georgia, is the people I know of that do not like abortion are the people who I also know read One American News Network, because those are conversations that I've had with them at card shops. Like,
At card shops, what are people that play cool games like that doing? Like reading OAN.
Get their news from somewhere.
Okay. Whatever. Shall we get on to tweets?
Sure.
All right, the tweets might be a little bit janky because like the whole reason I rearranged things is because I got tired of having to resize the tweets on the fly. So what I did was I put them in a slideshow, and I'm just going to go through a slideshow, but like the slideshow should do the auto fitting. Some of them are going to be a little bit small and hard to read, but like it should be okay. So we start with Bridget Gabriel, always a favorite. It says, "The left is terrified of masculinity. It's a big part of why they hate Trump."
Why do they have AI generated worker Trump with fucked up left hand fingers?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. The fingers on this one for AI are actually quite good. But the work glove just kind of blends into his shirt. Like there's no glove. The glove becomes the shirt.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. But this is one of those images where the more you look at it, the worse it gets. Like one of the first things I noticed was like there's that bar that goes across the top of the cab and then it goes down through the middle of the windshield and then comes back and ends in a side view mirror that's in the middle of the cab. Like what the fuck is up with that?
It's trying its best.
Yeah, and then there's like what looks like, I don't know, a Nest security camera in the top left corner of the cab.
There's also something above. There's something above Trump's head that looks like a small computer speaker system, but it's inside. It's like actually sitting on top of the edge where the door should connect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's no window in this truck. But so what I say to this is like, well, why are you using an AI generated image of Trump sitting in a truck when we have a real image of Trump sitting in a truck? Like you should that's what he looks like when he's in a truck.
Edit the tweet. Just edit the tweet to have that image of Trump there. The left fears masculinity, and it's just Trump LARPing a 12-year-old.
I will do that after the stream.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no. And now we get Lobo. We were talking about Lobo behind the scenes earlier.
We were about things she thought she was doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, so this is from 2021. This is one of those tweets that age like a fine milk. It says, "Seems Joe Biden understands basic economics as well as he understands appropriate behavior around kids." So, do you want to elaborate on what she was caught doing in a theater with kids in it?
So at the Beetlejuice musical in a theater with kids present as well, she was allegedly on camera.
Allegedly, we've all seen the video. Come on,
we've all seen the video.
Fuck off with that allegedly nonsense.
It's funnier to add the allegedly, though. It is.
She allegedly gave him an over the pants handy that you can watch for yourself.
With not one but two hands.
Yes.
You can see her twist and grab both hands there during the video while she's getting felt up the entire time.
And so for the record, the guy that she was giving the over the pants handy to happens to own a bar that has drag shows. So like the exact thing that she's against. She's jerking this guy off.
She went on fucking TMZ and tried to go, hey, this has taught me that you need to look at what kind of registered voter people you date are. I just like bullshit. You didn't care whether he was a Democrat when you were giving him a handy. You just cared that he looked cute to you. Like that. As if things were going to get suddenly cleaner if it was a Republican.
Yeah, and it's like this is one of those things where like there's a part of me that wants to feel some sympathy for her because like she's going through a divorce. It's a rough time in her life. Her husband, like it's a matter of police record that her husband abused her like before they were even married. I don't know why she married the guy when he abused her. It's also a matter of record that her husband, well now ex-husband, exposed himself to minors in a bowling alley when he was like, I think he was 24.
Mm-hmm.
And like he pled guilty to that. So like this is not an allegedly scenario. This is her ex-husband exposed himself to minors in a bowling alley. We know this as a matter of public record. So like there is a part of me that wants to feel sorry for her, because like that's something that no woman should have to go through, is tolerating that sort of bullshit from a man. And too many women do go through that. So it's like, I want to be sympathetic, but like, that's not an excuse to give a guy a handy in a theater with kids in it.
No,
like,
it's not.
You're not a teenager. You're not some horn dog teenager who can't control it and whose brain hasn't finished developing yet. So when you ask, why did you do that? The answer, I don't know, is actually a truthful answer. It's like, that's the thing, I have teenagers in my home now, where it's like, sometimes I say, like, why would you do that? And they say, I don't know. And that is the truthful answer, because their brains have not finished developing yet. It just seemed like a good idea at the time. Who knows why? Like they can clearly see now that it was a bad idea, but I don't know why I did that.
Now, the real answer as to why you did it, or why she did it, is going to end up somewhere between you thought doing something publicly was hot and risque.
Jasta says, but her brain hasn't developed. Yeah, this is the thing, though, is that, like, she is a member of Congress. She is someone whose job it is, in theory, to write the laws for the country. Now, she hasn't written a single law that's actually passed, but in theory, that's her job, is to write laws. So, like, someone that doesn't have the self-control to not give someone a handy in a theater is not the kind of person you want writing your laws.
No, because this is somebody who's going to be basically using their base impulses to determine public policy. Oh, wait, that's what she does.
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually really funny to me how much her and Marjorie Taylor Greene hate each other, because, like, they're the same person.
Yeah. I think that's why they hate each other. They hate the person in the mirror.
Yeah. It's getting all psychological and making me want to feel sorry for them again.
No.
Yeah, no. I don't actually feel sorry for them. They're just sometimes when it's like, anyone else and I would feel sympathy.
This is one of those, like, the enemy of my enemy is actually just a different colored enemy.
Don't say different colored in that scenario. That sounds bad.
I mean, like, in first-person shooters,
I know what you
team color.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But that's not that wasn't the first interpretation that hit my brain.
That's fair. I grew up on Halo.
Okay. I grew up on GoldenEye. We didn't have colored teams.
No, you had that one jackass that decided to play Odd Job. Yeah, that's who you had. That person that got kicked out of the fucking friend group. That's the guy you had.
Fucking Odd Job, man.
That's the person that said, hey, we can't play GoldenEye anymore, but we can play the Banjo-Tooie multiplayer, and then they just picked the fucking Jinjo, who's got the exact same model proportions as Odd Job in the exact same game by the same company.
I worked so hard to unlock all of the cheats for that game. I put so much effort into that. It was a lot of fun. I liked that game.
I'm replaying the Command and Conquer port on the N64 right now. Like my N64 in the bedroom is actually on because there's not save stating on a real N64, so that I can go back to it after the stream and keep playing.
Yeah, no, I have a real N64 on my console in the living room, and I also have GoldenEye. So we don't actually play that because N64 looks like shit on a 4K TV.
Just grab an upscaler.
Yeah, no. It's not about the upscaling. It's about, like, developer. Like, there's a reason the hardcore classic game people will pay $5,000 for a CRT TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like game developers back then actually took advantage of the way CRTs worked to make their graphics look better in ways that, like, when you put it on a 4K high-res TV, upscaled or whatever, makes it look like fucking shit.
Oh, I know. I have various eras of TV. I have a CRT that this was plugged into, but that's currently being used by Arachne after we did the rescue shit months ago. And I don't feel like toting my CRT from that end of the house where it fits to my bedroom where there's nowhere for it to fit because it's a CRT and it's massive. So I've got the CRT for the N64. I just am not currently using it.
So, not to completely derail the conversation, but going back to my previous issues with YouTube and the connection thing, OBS is now reporting that I'm streaming at 9 megabits per second instead of the 10 it was doing before, and YouTube now says I have an excellent connection. I don't fucking know!
What?
What the fuck?
Hey guys, did you know that Rhino and I both do this full-time as our jobs? And we have no idea what the fuck we're doing?
Jethro Elfman says, can we please move on to the next tweet? Fine. We'll stay on topic. Fuck you.
We want to sit here and talk about N64
We both
games.
have fucking ADHD, man. What do you want?
Yeah, I'm not diagnosed, but I mean,
but
let's be honest.
Nova Saber says, but Republicans are against CRT. We're talking about cathode ray tubes, man, not critical race theory.
I used to call them cathode radion tubes.
Critical race tubes.
Is that like when you made the joke about I'm not racist, I have a color TV?
Did I make that joke? That doesn't sound like the kind of joke I would make.
Not you. That was a common joke when I was a kid that people would make all the time when you would be like, "Hey, that's racist. I can't be racist. I have a color TV." Like, I don't think that makes you not racist.
That is such a stupid joke, but I kind of love it. I kind of love it. Okay, next tweet. Lauren Boebert again. The military is asking for the public's help in finding an F-35 jet that went missing. We're talking about an $80 million jet. This is what happens when military leaders are more focused on woke ideology than actually running a competent military.
Do they not realize that military personnel and equipment get lost under all leaders? Like, it doesn't matter who your commander-in-chief is. That happens sometimes.
So here's the thing. Okay, first off, it's pilot error. It was just some guy in a cockpit hit the wrong button or whatever the fuck mistake he made. The guy in the cockpit made a mistake. Whoopsie doodles. Yeah, whoopsie doodles, he crashed an $80,000 jet. But it's still just some guy made a whoopsie doodles. But if you want to blame it on the military leadership and having a competent military, maybe having a guy that's holding up 300 plus military promotions to key leadership roles so that he can score political points. Like, maybe he's the problem and not the wokeness. So, like, Tommy Potato Town.
Are you saying Superman doesn't have our best interests at heart as a nation?
Yeah, probably not. He's compromising national security so he can make a political grandstand thing. Like, this has nothing to do with the military being woke. Like, it was just a pilot made a mistake. But, like, if you want to blame military leadership, why don't you look at the guy that's holding up the promotions that would have to do with military leadership?
How to incite a military coup in the United States, 2023.
You copy Trump in 2020, what was it, 2021 or 2020 that he did the January 6th thing?
2021.
2021. That always messes me up because it was the 2020 election, but because it was January, it's the next year.
Yeah. God, I stayed up for 14 hours on stream when that was happening. Because like that happened while I was streaming, so I was just, I guess I'm not ending. I guess I'm just watching this.
Yeah, that was I remember I was trying to work that day, but like the news broke and I'm like, okay, now I'm following the news. It's like, what the fuck? And I actually remember I told my kids, this is your 9/11 moment. This is like, I remember exactly where I was when 9/11 happened. You are going to remember exactly where you were when this happened. And my daughter has since come out and like, yeah, I remember you saying that to me. I remember exactly where we were. I remember what we were doing. That was a big deal. It's like 9/11 happened when I was in grade, I want to say 10. And I remember I was in science class. It was Mrs. Trombley and the other science teacher, Mr. Craven, came in to tell her what was happening, and I overheard him like whispering it to her because I was in the front row because I'm a fucking nerd, so of course I was in the front row in science class. And yeah, that's where I was in 9/11. And my daughter can tell me with similar detail where she was when I first told her what was happening in the Capitol on January 6th.
I was in grade school, leaving PCA, getting picked up by my mom, and my mom informed me about that. And the first thing that I said was, why didn't they tell us while we were in class?
Yeah, no, I don't think they told us when we were in class either. I just overheard it from the teachers.
Yeah, it was just I don't think our teachers even knew at that time. Like, I mean, this was pre-internet era.
Yeah. So the Nova Saber says that's one of the only things I envy about the boomers is their "where were you" moment was the moon landing, not a tragedy. I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Adam
Yeah.
Broughton says 9/11 happened when I was in grade 13, OAC. I did OAC. That's an Ontario thing.
I don't know what that is.
That's the victory lap. You graduate in grade 12 from high school, and then you go back for another year
Why do you go back for another year?
because you don't want to go to college yet, because that involves making decisions. So you get like extra high school courses. You might get some of the AP college courses. You might get like if I don't know if it's structured differently in the States, but in Canada we have like there's the academic and applied. So you can take like biology academic and biology applied. So biology applied, like generally speaking, people consider the applied courses to be easier. Those are the ones where you actually do the stuff, whereas the academic is where you learn the details behind the actual doing. And so it's generally the idea is if you're planning on going to university, you do academic, and if you're planning on going to college, you do applied. That's not universal, but like that's the general rule of thumb. So like maybe you did the applied courses and you want to go back for the academic courses, so you do the victory lap and you get the same courses in academic, and then you can get into university instead of college.
Okay, that's fair. I guess I wonder if I would have done that in school
I
at
did
all
that.
if I had been given the choice. I think about it. I know that when I was leaving high school, the most exciting thing was the fact that I wasn't going back. And now that I'm gone, I'm like,
I miss school. School is fun.
I miss school as well. Like I'm not gonna lie, there's a part of me that just wants to go to college, not because there's a particular career field that I want to go into. Like I'm in the career that I want to be in right now. But just to have the college experience, like just front and center. That's the only thing that my brain goes to.
My first thought when you said that was like, Cirrus, come on. We're in relationships. We're too old for the college experience. And like, no, you're poly. That might actually work for you. But yeah, no, I've missed out on the college experience. I've just accepted that because I was married in college. Well, I mean, when I say the college experience, I mean like specifically with regards to the relationship aspect and dating or whatever. Like, I've had a total of like, I think three girlfriends. I've had 3 girlfriends in my life, my entire life. Married one, dated one for like a month, and now I'm basically married to the other one. We're living together and something like I'm not a player. I don't play the field. I sowed my one wild oat. And I sowed my one wild oat after I'd been married for 15 years.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I don't know. I did the Tinder thing and it seemed like a lot of work. So it was like, and now my partner is in the chat saying we have no treats. I guess she's feeling a little peckish. Oh, she drank a cannabis bevy towards the beginning of the stream, so she's probably getting the munchies right about now.
That's fair. That's fair. I tried edibles for the first time about a week ago now, and I did not realize how bad the munchies would hit until no, this is never mind, I get it now.
Yeah, the only experience I have with edibles is the typical it did nothing until it did everything, and then I thought I was going to die. So I didn't really experience the munchies. I experienced curled up in bed thinking I was about to die, trying desperately to go to sleep. Like knowing cognitively that I'm not going to die because nobody overdoses on weed. That's not a thing. So like cognitively, I'm like, I'm fine. But like emotionally, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. So yeah, that was my experience with edibles. With the smoking thing, I don't really feel a lot, and I always have the munchies, so I don't know.
No real changes.
Like I could eat an entire fucking bag of chips right now.
I did eat chips because I started feeling lightheaded, and that's what I had.
Yeah. Anyway,
Lobo.
back to this. Oh yeah, this is good. This isn't a Twit tweet. This is what's his face? Fetterman. John Fetterman says,
Oh, have you seen the conspiracy with him now, where they're just like, "Hey,
yes,
look,
I have.
The tattoos aren't on his arm."
He gained a little bit of weight, so he's not the same guy.
Jesus
that's
Christ.
seriously it. He changed his facial hair, and his face has a bit more weight. But like, so I guess for medical reasons, he doesn't wear a suit and tie, and so they got them to change the Senate dress code rules so that he could not wear a suit and tie to the Senate. Which, you know, I'm fine with that. Like, I don't really see having your neck constricted as being a prerequisite to being able to like legislate properly.
I'm also not going to lie. The entire idea that you have to have a super high profile dress code when writing law is just like, let me just put on this mask real quick for everybody. This is not how I look 99.9% of the time.
Yeah. But so he says he kind of calls the Republicans out for their really messed up priorities, saying like, if those jagoffs in the House stop trying to shut our government down and fully support Ukraine, then I will save democracy by wearing a suit on the Senate floor next week. It's like, because they're all complaining about him not wearing a suit. Like, I can't believe he wouldn't wear a suit and tie. It's the end of democracy as we know it. Meanwhile, let's support fucking Russia for some reason. You know, that country that, like, in every action movie from the 90s is obviously the bad guy because it's fucking Russia. Of course they're the bad guy.
You go from having a Cold War with them to going, no.
Like,
I like the potato water that comes out of their dicks.
No, man, like, Russia is, like, the quintessential anti-American country. But for some reason, the GOP just, like, seamlessly transitioned to, no, Russia's great. We support Russia taking over Ukraine for some fucking reason.
So there was a document, I wish I could find it again, but I went over it on stream a year ago with, ironically, my friend Nick, a game apologist. And it was a document that was put together by MI6 about the way that Russia was going to divide the United States and the wedge issues it was going to use to divide us.
And it's exactly the ones they did?
Part of their plan literally was getting the Republican Party, or getting a party, to side with them, and the wedge issues being abortion, LGBTQ issues, trans rights, just like going down the list. All shit that we've seen go under fire in the last 2 or 3 years. Which
Sirs, did you just say the GOP is a Russian puppet?
I may have said something
allegedly.
Allegedly.
They're allegedly a Russian puppet.
Allegedly Russian.
Sources say they're a Russian puppet.
And it's really weird as well.
The source in this case is Cirrus.
No, the source in this. The source in this case is an MI6 document. I can't remember where the fuck it is.
Yeah, so since you can't remember the fucking document, you're the source. You have become the source.
I've become the source. Guys.
Okay,
just remember,
Jimmy in my chat is a little bit behind, I think, because I just got LMAO odd job. Welcome, Jimmy.
Odd job was the Russian source.
Hope you're watching on 2 times speed. You'll catch up eventually.
Yeah, just remember, everything the GOP gets mad about, Christopher Rufo told them to get mad about like a week ago.
Yeah. Kevin Sorbo says, the government that just lost an F-35 thinks you aren't responsible enough to own guns. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, I mean, most Americans that own guns are probably not responsible enough to own guns. Did you see that video? I forget what it was, but it was like some guy trying to teach his girlfriend how to shoot. And, like, after she fired a bunch of rounds, he was like, okay, that was pretty good. Now try again. And she immediately, like, turns to him facing the camera that he's holding with the gun.
Just holding the fucking gun?
And he's, like, freaking out, why are you fucking doing that? Because, like, she didn't know better than to point the gun at him.
Yeah, he didn't tell her about proper trigger safety or anything like that beforehand, right?
I imagine he did. She just forgot or whatever. But it's like, that's kind of the point. is that you need to have proper training to be able to remember that. Like, you can't just accidentally point a loaded gun at someone.
I mean, as somebody who's actually had a shotgun pointed at himself when I was a kid, that's a fucking terrifying thing.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, if their finger slips a little bit, I'm just gone. That's not a pleasant thought.
Nope, it's not.
And, like, it's not like the whole government was irresponsible and that's why the F-35 went missing. And also, like, the F-35 is a stealth fighter. Like, it's designed to be hard to find.
It went missing because
so like,
that's what the engineers wanted it to do.
You lose the pilot, the guy who's going to take it back to where it belongs, and now you can't find it because it was engineered to not be found. Duh. Like, that just means the people who designed the F-35 were good at their jobs.
Jesus.
The Nova Saber says, why do conservatives only consider the military a part of the government when they're talking about it negatively? Because conservatives ostensibly want less government. So if they talk about it positively, it has to be when they're doing something that they like. So if they've lost an F-35, then that's when the military is part of the government. So we need to restrict the government. But when the military is invading a country I don't like, that's when the military is not part of the government. They're the military protecting democracy.
I found the MI6 document.
You just don't want to be the source.
I'm not the source. The source is Intelligence and Security Committee of Parliament on Russia from 2017.
Oh, yeah, but that's after Trump was in office, so that's clearly just an anti-Trump propaganda document.
I'm gonna fucking shoot myself. I'm gonna exercise proper trigger safety.
Not on the stream, sir, so I want to keep this monetized.
Y'all wouldn't see it anyway.
We were talking about
YouTuber
God
avatar.
and Jesus being into BDSM shit earlier. This ain't going to be monetized. Who are we kidding?
You know, the best part is, I bet you the version of this that makes it up on my channel will be monetized. Somehow.
No, you know what? I actually have a really good history of, like, accurate self-report, so if I tell it to monetize it, it'll probably listen to me? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay, Nick Storm says, we're having so much fun and this is a big reason we are winning. So, and Christian nationalists are just having fun running around outside, and then the anti-Christian nationalists are in the window looking at them through the dark blinds or whatever. It's like, yeah, the reason you guys are having fun is because you aren't the ones whose rights are being taken away. Like, here's the thing. You give LGBTQ people equal rights to everybody else, Christian nationalists still have the same rights that they have now.
Mm-hmm.
But if Christian nationalists get their way, then suddenly LGBTQ people aren't legally human beings. So, like, yeah, the anti-Christian nationalists are not having fun with the fact that you want to make them not human beings, legally speaking. Like, being categorized as subhuman is not fun.
I imagine there were at least some Nazis who had some fun at the camps.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they were the ones on the right.
No, it does not. They also didn't win in the end.
Nope. Amazing how that works.
Have you seen that meme that's like God saying, like, okay, you know what? Whoever kills Hitler gets a free pass into heaven. And then Hitler, like second panel is just God being like,
just imagine you're Hitler in this moment.
Scott
you do it in case of demonetization.
Sent $10 in case of demonetization. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that.
Hitler does the thing Hitler did at the end of his life, and you just see KDA K1 D1 A giant fucking number, depending on who you count.
Yeah. All right, Frank Turek. When you think you have a scientific consensus that miracles don't occur, you don't have a scientific consensus based on the evidence. You have a scientific consensus based on the bias against the miraculous because they've already decided that miracles don't occur.
But wait, if you have a scientific consensus that miracles don't occur, it's because we've not witnessed a miracle.
It's because no, it's not even that. It's because definitionally speaking, miracles can't occur. If
Because a miracle would be a violation.
If
of
a
natural
miracle
law.
was scientifically possible, it would not be a miracle. A miracle is, by definition, a violation of scientific possibility. So the fact that scientific consensus is that miracles don't occur is just an observation of how the universe works. Because if a miracle obeyed the laws of science, it would cease to be miraculous. Like, yeah, we might be able to take some of our technology, go back in time 500 years, and people might think we were gods or whatever because we could perform these weird miracles. But, like, ultimately, if they study them, there are scientific explanations for how we were doing that shit. Like, the fact that we can talk to, like, you live in Georgia and I live in Canada, and we can talk to each other in real time while streaming our conversation to audiences across the globe, like, that's scientifically impossible in the 1500s. That's miraculous. But, like, there are scientific explanations for this.
I mean, hell, if you mentioned that this was something we could do even back in the 20s when radio was the primary form of communication for, not communicating, but like disseminating information, this would still be considered an impossibility.
Yeah.
Because we're doing it with video.
Yeah, like fucking, like, I grew up in the 90s when, like, you remember that scene in The Simpsons where comic book guy is trying to look at the naked picture of Captain Janeway and it's like loading bar by bar, and then it finally gets to her boobs and it gets an ad on her boobs instead of her actual boobs. That's the era of internet that I grew up in. I remember the reason to save porn to your hard drive was so you didn't have to wait for it to load again.
I remember growing up watching Pokemon and seeing the anytime Ash would call his mom, they'd have the video call, thinking, "Oh my god, that's amazing technology."
I remember watching Star Trek in the 1990s and seeing them, like, walk up to a door and the door automatically opens, being like, "Oh, it would be kind of neat when we develop that technology." Because, like,
and then you go to your local Walmart, and there it is.
That wasn't common in the 90s. Like, yeah, it existed before the 90s, but, like, I live in a fairly small town, so we didn't really have it. And it wasn't motion sensor. It was like those pressure plates where you had to, like, go stand on the plate, and then as you're you had to, like, stand there on the plate and wait for the door to open. It's not that it saw you coming and opened in advance and you could just keep walking. So, like, even the ones that did have that, it was shittily implemented. So, like, I remember thinking, like, hey, that's a pretty cool futuristic technology that we all have access to now.
That we don't even think about.
Yeah. So it's the automatic door tech was pretty common. Like, not in my area when I was growing up. My mother actually has stories of time, like, after it started to become fairly commonplace, there were still a couple stores in my area that didn't have it. And she'd get used to the automatic doors, and there were a couple times when she, like, walked straight into a door because she just expected it to open for her, but it didn't. But that was, like, as it was progressing and becoming more common. Like, yeah, no, I remember that not really being a thing in the 90s.
Fennec the rabbit going, "Vice Rhino, are you old?"
No, I'm not old.
You're only as young as you feel.
Oh, so I'm fucking old then.
Yep, there you go. There you go.
Oh, goddamn. Yeah, so miracles by definition are a scientific impossibility. So scientific consensus will always be that miracles don't happen, even if they do happen, just because of the definition of miracle.
Because once they go into the realm of possibility, they're not a miracle anymore.
Yeah, and that's the same reason why you can't prove a miracle historically, because it will all, like, the science of piecing together what history actually happened from the documents that we have recording it is one of probabilities. What most likely happened given the evidence that we have from the various sources that we have for this event. And when something records a miracle, 100% of the time, it will be more likely that the person that wrote it down was either lying or mistaken. Or they were just repeating a story that they heard.
Kind of reminds me, there was a documentary that I saw on the History Channel on the 10 Plagues of Egypt that was going through how the 10 plagues could have actually happened while being scientifically possible. like in the order that they occurred and why they would have happened, even down to like going, hey, the firstborn of Egypt dying could have been a thing that happened because of all the shit that was happening with the other plagues, affecting mostly ground level stuff at that point. And the firstborn classically slept on the ground level, whereas people, the older generations would sleep at the higher levels of the house. It's just an interesting documentary that went through like, hey, this could have happened. Here's how.
Yeah, but I mean, given that there's no evidence that Egypt ever had a significant number of Hebrew slaves, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that whole story is fiction.
Right.
But the point is that fiction is a thing that we know exists. So the idea that someone wrote something that was fiction as opposed to it actually being a miracle, like someone writing fiction will always be more probable than it actually being a miracle. So that's why you can't use historical documents to prove a miracle.
Do we have anybody after Frank Turek is the question.
Cindy Johnson is, I guess she's still behind in the stream, says, you're both so young, I was in the Pentagon on 9/11.
Oh.
Dr. Tasha says, fiction exists? You made that up.
That would make it fiction.
Yeah. Now we have I Hypocrite.
Oh, God, this fucker.
Yeah, no, this fucker's a fucker. But, like, this meme was hilarious to me because, like, they have know the difference. Working class, actual labor, long hours, produces goods and value for society. And the jobs that they have there, we have resources and construction. Okay. Farmers. Okay. Manufacturing. Okay. Landlords. What actual labor does a landlord do?
Like, what are they producing?
Like, calling a fucking plumber when you have a clog? Like, that's not labor. Like, okay, as someone who has ADHD and has trouble with like some of the tasks that involve like calling people and like contacting people for stuff like that, like I could consider that labor, but like that's not the typical thing that these people mean by that. But then they have like the working, like, quote unquote working class, easy and pointless work, maximum 8 hours, but most work less, produces nothing for society. We've got fast food workers, restaurant workers, service workers, and retail workers.
So people who get the shit end of the stick by everybody constantly all the time.
Here's the thing. I've done grunt work. Like I've worked in fast food. I've done shit like that. I've done management level stuff. The management level stuff is way easier than the grunt work. Like working, like I have like the harder the work, the actual work that I've done, the lower the pay, generally speaking. The hardest I've ever worked has been for minimum wage. Now,
yeah, I think I've done just about every single job that's in that right panel. And every one of them were fucking grueling.
And I'm not saying this to shit on resources and construction or farmers or manufacturing or whatever, like, but like, you know, I've never worked harder than when I was getting paid less. Like the higher paying jobs are easier jobs to do.
If the emotional labor of dealing with the 15th Karen to tell me that it's my fault personally that the prices on her asparagus have changed, if that's not work, but calling the plumber is work, I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
So John73 John says, if you take shit from Karens on a regular basis, you don't have a real job.
This just in, I Hypocrite is actually a Karen. This is the reason he's doing this.
Lord of Uzkalak says they only work less so that employers can avoid legally having to give them benefits and a full-time employee is entitled to. Yeah, that's a huge problem with people like only giving people part-time hours so they don't have to give them benefits. Now, to be fair, in my last years as a server, I was the guy who, like, I was at the top of the seniority chart, and every time it was like, oh, it's not that busy tonight, does anyone want to go home early? I'd be like, yep, me, and I'm at the top of seniority, so you gotta pick me first. Because that job fucking sucked. I mean,
because at a
it
certain
was
point,
good
doesn't matter
money,
how
but
much you're
like
getting paid for it.
it was good money, but like when I was making the equivalent money on my channel, I'm like, I'd rather go home and make a video, man. Like that's something I'm actually passionate about.
I mean, the worst thing you deal with as a content creator, typically, not counting like people sending death threats via email, is burnout. Which I'm just gonna say, burnout is better than Karen's. Burnout is better than Karen's.
Burnout is, I would rather deal with burnout than deal with like one of the things that I absolutely hated was the restaurant that I worked at had like 6 main sections, and like there were the 4 desirable sections and the 2 undesirable sections, but one of the 2 undesirable sections was fucking massive. And it wasn't undesirable because you didn't make money there, because you made a shit ton of money there because you had way too many tables, but it was like it was a shit ton of work. And the thing is, it was in like a not good section of the restaurant that nobody wanted to sit in, so you get the miserable people, and you have lots of the miserable people because they want to go sit up at the front where the good view is. And because of my personality, like I can't fucking fake it. Like I will either jive with you or I won't. If I don't jive with you, I'm just not going to make the small talk. I'll be there. I'll take your order. I'll check on you. I'll be perfectly polite. I'm not going to be a bad server, but like, I'm not going to pretend like we're getting along when we're not. And so like occasionally I'd have tables where it's like, yeah, we jive and everything's great. And I'm like, they think I'm the greatest server because like we just kind of meshed. It's fine. But for most people, I was a mediocre server. So as kind of punishment for that, I would always get put in the bad sections. And one of them was the like, you make lots of money because you get all the tables and they feel obligated to tip because like fucking tipping culture is bullshit. And you know, they're making customers subsidize your wages for you instead of just, you know, paying a living wage. But like it was a nightmare. I fucking hated it. So when they said, "Hey, who wants to go home early?" I'm like, "Yeah, fuck, I'm out of here because you guys always put me in this shitty section." And like, I get it. I'm not the guy that you want in your prime section because I can't pretend to be jiving with everybody because I'm not good at lying. Anyway,
and yet
restaurant work sucks. Is my main point.
I don't like Guy Hypocrite. I don't like him at all.
So, frankly speaking, says my dad retired in the 80s. His old Pentagon office was where the plane crashed on 9/11. That's, Jesus. I mean, that's still 20 years off from the retirement, but like, still, like to have a plane crash into your old office.
I mean, it's a story you get to tell. It's not great, but
anyway, I think this might be the last tweet. Yeah, that's the last tweet.
Aha, we did it.
We did it.
We're not 20 minutes over this time.
We made it through. We're only 4 minutes over.
Hey, better than 20.
I thought we were still early, actually. Shows you what kind of sense of time I have. There's that ADHD time blindness thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me tonight. And as always, fuck off.